Guys, I get sick and tired of hearing how they got this clown, John. Well, he's doing things that he's not even elected. John Kerry, I think is his name. He's doing things he's not even elected to do. Nope. Who has appointed him to do anything? He's doing stuff he's making claims that you and I are going to give up certain things for the rest of the world, even though the rest of the world isn't going to give it up. And that's funny. The government wants to convince you they're here to save you. That's what he's trying to tell people. John Kerry, that horse face criminal, when he was in office, when he was elected, he sold the crime families down in Mexico that are killing everybody today with their drugs and everything, their migration, immigration, whatever, illegal crap. They're killing us today with it. And he's now telling people across the world that as he's flying in his own personal jet airplane, bouncing around, who's paying him? I don't even know. I guess we are. But they claim that they're going to save us. They're saving the world, so that means they're saving us. Well, you people need to quit listening to these ignorant people. First president I ever voted for was Ronald Reagan, and he even told us back then the worst words you can ever hear is I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Now, the first thing these guys want to do is take away our guns. Take them away. That way they have total control. The criminals will have total control. Do I have to say any more than that? What they need to do is show how they are capable of protecting the citizens. And if they can't, then they need to shut their mouths. Because we know how protected they are today. Go into Washington, D.C., you almost have a 10 square mile, 10-foot high fence with Bob Constantine wire wrapped around the top so none of us can get in there. It was supposed to be open. At one time, it was an open area for the slaves. Oh, yeah, it was. I could have, many times in my life, I could have walked right up there and walked into the state building. No problem. Walked in, even could have walked into the White House. No, I wouldn't been able to walk into the Oval Office or straight into wherever the president's bedroom was or nothing like that. But those doors were built to be open at all times. Go up there and look at it now. Look at it now. And then claim you have freedoms to regress your government. You're considered a terrorist if you're just walking through the state building and something bad happens and you get caught on a camera. Now you're a terrorist. Well, you explain it to me. This is all your guys is doing, not mine. I don't care. You know, most of these criminals they go after that are big time, like Al Capone and stuff, they couldn't get no crimes on them, so they went after their money. Go after the government's money. Go ask them to show where they spent all the money they have taken for decades and decades and decades. Just in my life. I'm not talking about since the early 1900s. I'm talking about just in my life. Oh, I don't care if the criminals don't claim all the money they make, because you government officials don't claim all the money that you're giving and where it went. So if we can't make you prove where all this money went, how are we going to make the criminals? Well, I don't care nothing about that. I don't care where they spend their money, who they give it to, as long as they don't bring their hell to my neighborhood. That's it. I know hell's all around me on this earth. Evil's all around us on this earth. So I know it's all around, but don't bring it to my neighborhood. Don't bring it to my street. Don't bring it around my house. That's all I ask. If you have proof as a police department or a sheriff's department that there is a bunch of drugs or hookering or slutting, dirty, nasty stuff going on in my neighborhood, and I can't afford to move, then what you should be doing is ensuring that I'm armed. If I can't afford to buy it, then you give me those guns. That's what the Constitution's about. The right to bear arms. Doesn't say I have the right to buy an arms if I can. The right to bear arms. Well, if you're law enforcement, I know police departments aren't, they're policy enforcement. That's why they're called the police. Well, the sheriffs are elected by the Constitution. Their deputies are law enforcement officers. If they feel you're living in a neighborhood and you can't afford to move, and they can't afford to move you to get you into a better place, then they need to arm you, because it takes 15 minutes or more for them to get there to protect you. I don't know what else to say about that. That would be back in the Constitution right there. Let a man protect himself. Let a woman. Let a child, if it takes a child to do it. I've seen children save the entire family with a gun. Now, when I was a kid in high school, this back in the mid-70s, folks, I could get, well, they didn't call them Percocets and stuff back then. They had different names for them, of course. I haven't moved that heater out. It's burning this side up. They had different names for them. They were called Lemon 714s, Roarers, Quaaludes, all prescription drugs from your drug manufacturers. They were almost free on the streets. A couple of bucks. You could get them at the high school all day long if the parking lot had cars in it. Now, you didn't go up there and deal them at night when nobody was there, but if cars were in the parking lot, people were up there selling prescription drugs. I sold joints in the parking lot for $1 a piece, but they were big joints. Back then, size of my pinky. That's why I held it up. I'd roll up. I'd buy an ounce of weed and I'd roll it for. Back in, I think it was. They called it a lid, but it was like $10. It was an ounce of weed, basically. It was 27 grams, 28 grams, somewhere around that. And that's where the ounce stayed for many decades, I assure you. But I would roll joints out of it and pull up out in the parking lot at the high school. And people would pull up next to me and they'd wad up $2 or $3, $4 bills and throw it in my car. I'd unravel it, see how many's there, and then I'd throw the joints into their car. I was 16. At my high school, you could get what was called back then, there was many names for it, LSD 25, folks. This mind-altering stuff they used to brainwash people with and everything else. It was on the streets like candy for kids. LSD 25, we could get it in blotter acid, microdot, mescaline, tea, cocaine, and speed could be bought at our high school at any time. Now, meth didn't exist back then. We had speed, which were prescription pills. There was Black Beauties and I can't remember all the other ones. The only reason I remember Black Beauties is because they had two different sizes. They had like a 350 and a 750 milligram. And somebody, I told them, I was looking for some Black Beauties, which was the speed. It wasn't meth, folks. It wasn't nothing like that. It was prescription pills. And, I don't know what it really was, but they said they had 7 of them. And I said, well, I only want to buy about 3 of them. And they were the big boys, big 750s. And the guy told me, well, I'll give you all of them if you just take them right now. I go, you serious? And he goes, yeah. He handed them to me. I threw them in my mouth and I washed them down. And whatever was in them, folks, I was out there playing basketball. And it got to a point that my sight went. I started realizing stuff was not right. And then all of a sudden my eyesight went I couldn't see nothing. I was on a basketball court telling my friends, man, I can't see. I'm blind. I'm completely blind. And I ended up, it took about 4 hours, but they were worried they were going to have to take me to the hospital. I kept telling them, hell no, I ain't going there. No, I ain't going. And then it ended up wearing off, and I got my sight back. Well, I never done any more of those after that. But, people, this is what I could get it at our high school. And then if I was driving a truck that had a shotgun and a rifle in the window of it, locked and loaded, they couldn't have got me any more on selling a joint back then. And it wouldn't, a cop, if they'd have found a joint on me, they'd have threw it away. Now, if I'd have got caught with an ounce or a quarter pound or something like that, maybe it depended on how much. An ounce, they might have wrote you a ticket, took you to jail, told your mom and dad about it too, and they'd have had to pay the ticket. But it wasn't no big deal. LSD 25, folks, it was a liquid that you could drop on a piece of paper, just one drop, and sell it for $5. Back then, $5. And you'd trip for about 6-8 hours on it. We'd take 3 to 5 on a Friday night. We'd take 3 just to start the night of that blotter acid. By the time we were done, we'd eat about 5 before the 24 hours was over. We'd eat about 5 of them. That's when I was a kid, folks. Nothing's changed. I never knew anybody that died all off of LSD 25 or weed. Everything else I heard die off of, but not off of weed or LSD 25. Today, you got stuff that's killing everybody. You better watch what you're doing. God loves you. I love you. I talk to you guys about this stuff because I've been there, done it. And I love you, and I want you to understand where I'm coming from so that when I say seek Jesus, you know I'm telling you the truth. I'm not asking you to just jump out of your boat into another boat. I'm asking you to seek him. You seek him, he will show you the truth about your world and who you are living for, men that you are following, women that some of you beta males and people are following, even women. Seek Jesus. Or don't. There's no reason to be crying if you choose not to. Love you guys.